Things are about to get crazy, and what I have to say, you may not like to hear. I'm going to dive into everything from FEMA camps to the internment and resettlement document to foreign troops on our soil to a statement by a general that they want to start rounding up disloyal citizens. Now, most of you might know that I am a homeschool parent. If you don't, you know now. But I'm homeschooling my daughters, and I am currently teaching them U.S. history. Now, we came across the Boston Tea Party, and I want to share with you just a quick sentence that I found out of their book. And let me just read it real quick. And it states, colonialists started resisting taxes and calling themselves patriots. That's where our term patriots comes from. Patriots. We are resisting things. 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 We are resisting things that limit our freedom. In this case, back during the Boston Tea Party, they resisted because of certain taxes, certain things they didn't like about what was happening with the tea. Now, they called themselves patriots back during our founders' time, and today we have that same label. We are patriots because we want our freedom back. Like I said, the Boston Tea Party was started for much less than where we're at today. I mean, they would be up in arms, basically, at some of the things that are happening today. We know we have the NSA spying, where they watch everything you say and do. That's a major ripping of our freedom, major. Not only that, but some of the laws that are in our government today, they would not be happy with, as well as the massive amount of taxes that we have. Now, with that said, what I want to do is jump head in first, now that you know why we are and have that label of patriots, because that's who we are. I want to jump into some of the crazy things that are happening in our culture, and I think the best place to start is a quote by General Wesley Clark. Now, you may have heard this, and if not, it's going to floor you, but it was pretty recent.
Generally, a lot of people would say you reap what you sow. So how do we fix self-radicalized lone wolves domestically?
Well, we've got to identify the people who are most likely to be radicalized. On a national policy level, we need to look at what self-radicalization means, because we are at war. We are at war with this group of terrorists, this group of terrorists, this group of terrorists, terrorists. They do have an ideology. In World War II, if someone supported Nazi Germany at the expense of the United States, we didn't say that was freedom of speech. We put him in a camp. We put him in a camp. They were prisoners of war. So if these people are radicalized and they don't support the United States and they're disloyal to the United States, as a matter of principle, fine, that's their right. It's our right and our obligation to segregate them from the normal community for the duration of the conflict. And I think we're going to have to increasingly get tough on this, not only in the United States, but our allied nations like Britain and Germany and France are going to have to look at their domestic law procedures.
General Wesley Clark, as always, great to see you, sir. Thanks for your time, and I want to pass along to our viewers.
Here's the thing. He said, first and foremost, he labeled terrorist. What I want you to know is he didn't say Islamic terrorists. He just said terrorists. Terrorists that are, quote unquote, disloyal Americans. Now, there's no definition to disloyal Americans. Could it be that disloyal Americans include those who object to what is happening, include those who object to tyranny, include those who object to massive taxes, include those who object to the New World Order, include those Christians who maybe don't want to follow these religious laws, or not religious laws, but anti-Christian laws that they're forcing down our back? Could it include veterans who are already targets on lists across our country? Sure. Or guns, people who want to hold guns. We know back in the Founders' Day that the British, they tried to take the guns from the Americans. that could happen again. But this time it's from our own government having a tripped out power grab. And as you saw in the video, General Wesley Clark stated very clearly that they want to, or they should, round up disloyal Americans again. And I'm not disloyal, in my opinion. I love my country, I'm pro my country, but I want a free America. I don't want to be in bondage to some of the stuff that is happening right now. And it's crossed the line. It's crossed every single line. And all we want is our freedom, our freedom, 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 freedom.
Let me make sure that you understand I'm not here representing the NRA. I'm not even a member. Okay? Secondly, I'd like to say that in your opening statements, you commented specifically on my testimony, saying that basically it had nothing to do with this issue. And I had to chuckle because then I noticed you had Mr. Brady up here, who was hit not with an assault weapon but with a .22 caliber revolver. So getting beyond that, I didn't grow up in a house with guns. I don't hunt. I personally abhor hunting. But I was given a gun by a friend when I was 21 to carry in my purse for self-defense, and I was taught how to use it. A couple of years ago, my parents and I went to a cafeteria in Texas on a bright sunny day. We weren't in a dark alley where we weren't supposed to be. And as you all know the story, this madman drove his truck through the window. And he began shooting. Well, immediately, my father and I got down on the floor and put the table up in front of us. And this guy kept shooting. And you're thinking, what could it be? Is it a robbery? That's the first thing that generally comes to mind. And he keeps shooting. It took me a good 45 seconds to realize that this man wasn't there to commit a robbery. He wasn't there for a hit. He was there to simply shoot as many people as he possibly could. Now, I'd like to make something clear. I hear all this talk about how many bullets can go in a clip. I've been there. I can tell you it doesn't matter. It takes 1 second to switch out a clip. You can have 1 bullet or 100 bullets. It doesn't matter, guys. I've been there. He goes, dump, dump, just like that. That's not enough time to rush a man. I promise you.
The first comparison will be with semi-automatic pistols, and our demonstrators will be firing 2 15-round standard capacity magazines out of their pistols. We'll time the results of these aimed shots on multiple targets, and then we'll do the next comparison with 3 10-round capacity magazines, and then also, just again for your education, we will do 5 6-round magazines so you can see what the timing sequence is there. Our 2 15-round magazines took 20.64 seconds to fire on the 3 targets. Now our demonstrator, Jim, will be firing 10-round magazines on our 3 targets. Our 3 10-round magazines took 18.05 seconds to shoot. Now Jim's going to demonstrate shooting 5 6-round magazines. Jim just completed his 3rd string of fire, and he fired 5 6-round magazines, and his time was 21.45 seconds. So in review, firing the 2 15-round magazines, his time was 20.64 seconds. The 3 10-round magazines at the 3 targets was 18.05 seconds, and then firing 5 6-round magazines at the 3 targets was 21.45 seconds.
Still, just like that, that's not enough time to rush a man, I promise you. When I finally realized what was occurring, I thought, I got him. And I reached for my purse. He was maybe 12 feet away. You know, is it possible my gun could have jammed? Sure. Is it possible I could have missed? Sure. But I can tell you I've hit much smaller targets at much greater distances. But then I realized that a couple of months earlier I had made the stupidest decision of my life. I took my gun out of my purse and left it in my car. Because as you well know, in the state of Texas, it's sometimes a felony offense to carry a gun in your purse. I can tell you that I'm not mad at the guy that did this. As he continued, it was obvious that he was a madman. My father, at that point, said, I just got to do something. I've got to do something. He's going to kill everybody in here, and he rushed the man. No way. This guy turned, shot him in the chest. He went down, was obviously mortally wounded. For whatever reason, that made the man change directions and go off to my left. Shortly thereafter, someone at the back of the restaurant broke out a window. When I saw what looked like an opportunity to escape, I turned around and I grabbed my mother by the shirt and I said, come on, we've got to run, we've got to get out of here. And then my feet grew wings and I was out the back window. As soon as I got out, I realized that my mother had not followed me out. And as I learned from the police officers, she had crawled over to where my father was and cradled him until the guy got back around her, put the gun to her head. She looked up at him, put her head down, and he pulled the trigger. My parents had just had their 47th wedding anniversary. She wasn't going anywhere. As I mentioned, I'm not really mad at the guy that did this. And I'm certainly not mad at the guns that did this. They didn't walk in there by themselves and pull their own triggers. The guy that did it was a lunatic. That's like being mad at a rabid dog. I'm mad at my legislators for legislating me out of the right to protect myself and my family. I would much rather be sitting in jail with a felony offense on my head and have my parents alive. As far as these so-called assault weapons, you say that they don't have any defense use. You tell that to the guy that I saw on a videotape of the LA riots, standing up on his rooftop, protecting his property and his life from an entire mob with one of these so-called assault weapons. Tell me that he didn't have a legitimate self-defense use. Just one final statement. I've been sitting here getting more and more fed up with all of this talk about these pieces of machinery having no legitimate sporting purpose, no legitimate hunting purpose. People, that is not the point of the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment is not about duck hunting. And I know I'm not going to make very many friends saying this, but it's about our rights, all of our rights, to be able to protect ourselves from all of you guys up there. To be able to protect ourselves from all of you guys up there.
And Dr. Susanna Hupp was absolutely correct.
Let me make something or point something out that's just so painfully obvious to me. Where do all these mass shootings occur? They go to places where they can shoot people like fish in a barrel until the cops, bless their hearts, finally arrive.
In order to fully establish an authoritarian, satanic New World Order here in America, where all constitutional rights will be suspended indefinitely, all guns must be taken by force so that all citizens will be at the mercy of an authoritarian power, just as Hitler had. And the only thing that is hindering them is your constitutional rights to bear arms. Once again, you must realize that this is not about race, but the implementation of a satanic New World Order here in the U.S., where all constitutional rights will be suspended indefinitely. Thus, all guns must be taken by force so that all U.S. citizens will be at the total and complete mercy of an authoritarian power. Thus, you need a national security force to do this, just as Hitler had. Adolf Hitler said, in order to conquer a nation, you must first disarm its citizens. And those who are working for the New World Order, have been working to accomplish just this.
California Senator Dianne Feinstein worked for more than a year to get the assault weapons bill passed in the face of ferocious opposition from the National Rifle Association. She says she got the best she could.
If I could have gotten 51 votes in the Senate of the United States for an outright ban, picking up every one of them, Mr. and Mrs. America, turn them all in, I would have done it. I could not do that. The votes weren't here.
Now I'm warning you, especially you professing Christians, that refuse to disarm and turn them all in. Our government is preparing to wage the greatest civil war against its own populace that the world has ever seen.
All these police officers out in front of Walmart.
It's not a campaign. We're shopping for children.
You are? Okay, so there's something else.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
this is the kids in there shopping.
Oh sure. But you know, from a parent, from a citizen.
The kids love to see this stuff.
And it actually had a rounded area, so if you actually were
So that part could have been a turret.
That part has actually been removed from there.
But it could be replaced.
Let's see if it looks
Could a turret be put back on that?
I suppose you could if we don't have one.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
You don't have one yet.
No, we got rid of it because we don't use it.
Putting it out in front of a Walmart to desensitize children that this is okay to be in a world growing up with.
Okay, it's for the kids. It's just for the kids. Attorney General Eric Holder is responsible for the deaths of thousands of poor innocent Mexicans, along with this U.S. Border Patrol agent, Brian Terry. And on top of that, Eric Holder only prosecuted 0.1% of all felons and fugitives who tried to buy guns at gun stores and who were identified by the National Background Check System. So, let's flash back to 1995 when Attorney General Eric Holder was just a lawyer with the mo, because his focus also was on the kids.
We want to have, as part of the gun initiative, though, an informational campaign to really change the hearts and minds of people in Washington, D.C., and in particular our young people. What we need to do is change the way in which people think about guns, especially young people, and make it something that's not cool, that it's not acceptable, it's not hip to carry a gun anymore. We need to get really innovative, creative things that are going to grab the attention of these kids and change, as I said, the way in which they think about guns. I've also asked the school board to make a part of every day some kind of anti-violence, anti-gun message. Every day, every school, at every level. One thing that I think is clear with young people and with adults as well is that we just have to be repetitive about this. It's not enough to simply have a catchy ad on a Monday and then only do it every Monday. We need to do this every day of the week and just really brainwash people into thinking about guns in a vastly different way.
The kids love to see this stuff for the SWAT team and stuff.
Sure.
And
yeah, well, my son would too.
Yeah.
But then as a citizen and someone who's raising children in a world that I don't know what it's going to look like with them, I feel like this is also a kind of a desensitization type of tool where they're going to think it's normal. You know, a lot of kids grow up and AK-47s in the hands of people leasing them while they're going to school is normal.
It's crazy right now. The world.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Everything changed.
Everything's going crazy. So.
I mean, I know you guys are on the front line and you need to be protected, but I know there's a lot of people worried about that turning on citizens who are deemed to be, terrorists, and that is a very loose term now. Who is a terrorist?
That's worldwide.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
Well, the nice thing about this piece of equipment is that if somebody is directing fire toward a team that's trying to get in, they safely can pull right up to the front line, take enemy fire, and still try to address the threat without being feared of getting shot.
So I'm thinking that is totally appropriate in Iraq, but what kind of a situation in the U.S. would you see that happening?
I mean, we've got a lot of constitutionalists and a lot of people that stockpile weapons. That stockpile weapons. A lot of ammunition.
And it actually had a rounded area, so if you actually were
that part could have been
that part has actually been removed from there.
But it could be replaced.
Let's see if it looks
Could a turret be put back on that?
I suppose you could if we don't have one.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
You don't have one yet.
No, we got rid of it because we don't use it. No, we got rid of it because we don't use it. We don't use it for that.
But if there was ever a need that someone said you needed to now use it, you could replace it up there.
I suppose you could mount whatever you wanted on it, but I mean, that's not the purpose.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, this highly concerns me because as a citizen, I'm thinking, why do you need this kind of a vehicle on U.S. soil?
To rescue
and putting it out in front of a Walmart to desensitize children. If this is okay to be in a world growing up with.
Now we can clearly understand the military-style buildup, the mass purchase of hollow point bullets, tanks, gear, and fully automatic weapons, which are now being given to our local police. The same police that are supposed to be protecting its citizens' constitutional rights. And we also now clearly understand why they have been systematically pitting the citizens against its police and the police against its citizens, causing them to fear and perceive the United States citizens' Second Amendment rights to keep and bear arms as a very dangerous threat to their own personal lives and well-being.
A video showing a motorist being arrested for legally carrying a gun is lighting the internet on fire. One caution though, this story does contain some graphic language.
This video has been seen more than 38,000 times in January. It shows Joel Smith of Citrus County getting stopped 17 seconds after getting out of the car. He's asked for his registration and insurance. As he turns, something is slightly visible in his back pocket.
What are you carrying a gun for?
10 seconds later, he's being held at gunpoint.
Put your hands right there, I'll shoot you in the back.
Smith is legally licensed to carry a concealed weapon.
Get down on the ground now.
But Smith was arrested anyway, charged with carrying a prohibited weapon openly.
A law enforcement officer losing it and abusing a law-abiding citizen who had done nothing wrong and was doing everything he could to cooperate.
When the case got to the courthouse, the state attorney declined to prosecute, saying there was little chance a jury would convict.
This is why prominent celebrities and leaders of the Congressional Black Caucus have endorsed a major nationalization of local police forces with an August 25th letter to President Obama calling for the creation of a federal police czar and greater federal controls over law enforcement in the wake of Ferguson, Missouri shooting and protests. This is not about race, but a satanic new world order that would take place when the Dow Jones crashes with a run on our biggest banks as they collapse. And this can happen any day, which would cause total chaos because ATM and food stamp cards will no longer work. And as civil unrest erupts, as society goes crazy, they will implement martial law and immediately seize all law-abiding registered gun owners' weapons. But they need a financial collapse along with civil unrest first in order to suspend all constitutional rights and implement martial law. After which U.S. citizens will be taken by force to FEMA camps.
Welcome, I am your host, Lindsey Williams. In 1850, Daniel Webster, who was at that time a senator from the state of Massachusetts, gave a presentation before the joint houses of Congress that was what I would call today prophetic. I'd like to read that if I may. Hold on, my friends, to the Constitution and to the Republic for which it stands. Miracles do not cluster And what has happened once in 6,000 years may not happen again. Hold on to the Constitution. For if the American Constitution should fail, there will be anarchy throughout the world. That is going to happen in 2015.
Why is Walmart closing? And if you really look at this, all the Walmarts that are closing, Florida, Oklahoma, Texas, California, it is in the Jade Helm states. And they're saying it's a plumbing problem in all of these Walmarts. They're going to be shut down for 6 months. That brings us to October. Jade Helm, July to September. I mean, is this a coincidence? I don't think so. I don't believe in coincidence. I believe that they plan these things out completely. Do I know if this is a live drill? I don't. But we can assume, and I hate to assume, but they're putting everything in place. And if everything goes as planned, they could get the green light and this could go live. And this is something we need to worry about. Now, why would they shut down Walmarts like this? Walmarts are very, very big. Basically, they're just big warehouses. This would be a perfect area to hold, patriots, dissidents, to bring them there first, to hold them in an area. There's not many entrances and exits. There's not really any windows in a Walmart if you really think about it. It's a really great holding area. And it just so happens it is in that Jade Helm stretch in the South. So this tells us, from everything we're seeing, something is definitely going on.
Well, these people who hold themselves out to be patriots are not. They're nothing more than domestic terrorists.
This is Dabu7 with an update to the Walmart situations and military equipment. Now, a lot of concerns about Jade Helm across the country, because it's not that people are just hearing about Jade Helm going down here in the future. They are seeing military movement en masse all over the place. I mean, literally all across the country. And it's not just helicopters in the skies and convoys on the highways. We now have, once again, military equipment spotted at a Walmart. Now, I caught this beforehand, and people were like, oh, well, it's just a coincidence. Well, no. Now we have a post that was put up just 3 hours ago. Livingston Walmart today in Texas. They state, I thought it was only plumbing. Weeks after their Livingston Walmart closes, this is what pulls into our parking lot of Walmart. Hey guys, Dabu7 want to share with you here some footage coming out of Texas. Off on the side of the road here behind a barbed wire fence.
You know, I'm not a big conspiracy theorist, but I'm driving through the backwoods way through Texarkana, Texas, and I came across this. Out here in the middle of nowhere. Now, what do you suppose all these are doing parked inside this barbed wire fence? Out here in the woods. Things that make you go,
And he's exactly right. What are all of these pieces of military equipment doing back here? You were looking at military equipment traveling on a train through Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, heading toward the west coast. Now, this footage was sent to me. They asked me to share it and get it out there to as many people as I possibly could. They said up there they were trying to post it to Facebook and they were removing it. But when you want to talk Jade Helm, when you want to talk massive military exercises, this goes right along with it here. shit is off. You can see tanks, armored vehicles, trucks, you name it.
There is tanks and everything.
This is Dabu 7. Want to give a shout out to M. Hodges. He has supplied us with some amazing shots here of the railroad just as far as your eyes could see in both directions, stacked with military equipment. He said that this was heading out of Oroville, California. Out of Oroville, California. I'm going to run some footage, and I'll leave some links. Heading east, and very well could be the vehicles that cleared out the other facility. This is Dabu 7, wanting to once again share with you military footage from across the country. Got quite a bit of it here, and as a veteran and now a trucker had stated, this is way more than your once-a-month National Guard drills. This is a large uptick, and not only is it military equipment, it's construction equipment that they're moving all across the place as well. I'm going to share footage from across the board here, and thank everyone that sent me links and footage here. Continue to cover this and get it out there to the people the best we can. This convoy right here that you see, Bakersfield, it's heading towards Bakersfield in California. Sent to me here within the past 24 hours. So this footage is from within the past 48 hours, going to California towards Bakersfield. As you can see, they've got a bunch of different equipment on this train. We have more military activity here. But I just want to show you guys what's being witnessed across the country. This is the port of Beaumont. But what's interesting is he spots a whole bunch of white ambulances as well as a bunch of other military equipment, all in this one neck of the woods. There are the white vans or ambulances. Oops.
Look at all those ambulances, huh? What are those? UN ambulances, huh?
Now you can see heavy equipment that we've seen elsewhere in Alabama, California. This big equipment being hauled. All the way up and down the track.
I wonder why.
Shout out to Slacker 614. Definitely not slacking when it comes to getting this footage.
Thursday, 18 June, 5:16 p.m., Portland, Oregon, Union Station. You see by the big clock. Now another military convoy. I'm trying to see if the numbers match the DODX, which is the DOD number of the railway slats or flat cars. You can see them a lot better today. They have pieces of white paper on them like they're ready to go out. Look at the piece of white paper right here.
Very interesting footage once again here.
Right there.
And there's all types of different vehicles.
Plastic tarp. Safe type vehicles, striker vehicles. I'll upload this. Look at the paperwork on here. It's hanging off. It's hanging down.
More equipment, like I said, all kinds of different stuff being moved.
There's more paperwork on there, red notes.
And I guess you guys out there are still saying, oh, it's nothing still. It's just normal, once a month. National Guard training, it's nothing. See it all the time. Seen the same thing last year and the year before. Yeah, bet you did. Some of you guys are so much in denial, you're starting to believe your own lies. And the fact of the matter is this. There is a massive military buildup across this country. And here we go with the satellites on top. Once again, these can stay in direct communications with those Advon vehicles on the front lines of any situation and set up a grid of communication. A lot of interesting stuff on this convoy and all the rest of them that we've just seen as well. And as we look here at these blacked out Humvees, LAX, Los Angeles, this area, it's in my opinion they're making a full out move to make a sweep on the whole West through weather modification, the whole engineered drought situation, putting people in a crisis type of spot. And if one big thing like Lake Mead or the Hoover Dam like that did happen, people would be without water all over the place. They would have no choice but to move out of there, you see? And I think Jade Helm is setting the stage for that military occupation of the Southwest.
Dr. William Mount, and it's 19 April 2015 for Channel 77 in Seattle. People ask me why Walmarts are closing. The answer is simple. When I took an Army logistics class, the U.S. Army developed the logistics system for Walmart. Walmarts were strategically set up around the world to act as military distribution bases. So if we have problems in Yemen, the Special Forces takes over the Walmart in Yemen. You can order a helicopter and nuclear weapons on the Walmart logistics system. There's a back door into it. They taught me that. If you are going to have Operation Jade Helm throughout the Southwest, you seize a Walmart. You can order things such as M16 rounds. You can order an M16 through the Walmart program. So they walk into a Walmart, fire 2,200 people in California. You're all laid off, go away, no unemployment, get out of here. Because the military then takes over their base. The specific logistics program I was trained on in California is the same program they use at Walmart. The Walmarts are federal military posts. How many Walmarts they have, they get extra money from the government. And when the government takes over, they get a fortune from the government. Those products are redistributed to other Walmarts. In addition, the American dollar is no longer being accepted in a lot of countries. Walmart can't get products. Nobody will exchange the American dollar for the toys that we're getting at Walmart. Sorry, it's the way it is. The end game is here. Folks, if you get laid off from Walmart and Home Depot, they're federal, they're similar to colleges that are federal repositories like Humboldt State University, where they have underground battalion headquarters, Evergreen State College in Washington. Thousands of colleges have pre-prepared military bases underneath them. The Walmarts and the Home Depots are the same way. So if you're working for Home Depot and you get laid off, go to another one. But that's likely to get laid off. Because as poodly hits the fan, this is what is in our Department of Defense manuals, to seize the Home Depots and to seize the Walmarts and use their logistics program to order our weapons to kill us. It's the way it is. Sorry. I've been trained on it. I'm one of the few officers that was trained on the Walmart program. The entire class was enlisted except me. Anyway, thank you. You have a wonderful day, and I wish you the best of luck. And if you need anything from Walmart or you're a Walmart employee, forget it. Find another job and do it quickly, because as Jade Helm spreads, the jobs will go away very quickly. And if you're at Walmart, don't go to Home Depot or Lowe's. Don't go to a box store. You get hired there, you might get absorbed and then laid off. Thank you for watching, and you have a very wonderful day. And I hope I didn't burst your bubble, but we're here.
This is the front page, first page of Jade Helm request to do their operations. Jade Helm made the request, and since they made the request, they have sent several PR teams to select counties to try to appeal to the commissioners or to answer questions with concerned citizens. Realistic military training. It says what the purpose is, and I've seen some of the PR teams explain what it's for, but in explaining what it's for, they say it's for overseas assignments. Right now, our main theaters are in Afghanistan and beginning to be in Iraq and parts of the Middle East, Yemen, and other undisclosed places, but they're usually in the Middle East where people dress different. So the thing that raises one of the questions of concern is, how does that benefit a special operations team to try to blend in Texas or some of the other southern states where they have to dress like Americans and speak like Americans when they're going to end up in Afghanistan or somewhere else in the Middle East? You train like you fight, right? So that's the part that does not make sense. Jade Helm's going to be from July 15th to the September 15th. We all know that. It's going to involve these. John, I find this interesting. The bottom one right here, interagency partners. Not disclosed who they are, but some of the citizen journalists out there have uncovered, and I have not been able to prove this, but there is a rumor, and I have no problem believing this one, that it involves Homeland Security and some of the militarized police forces that already have all their neat militarized toys and wraps, etc. So the participants are special forces. So the big question is, okay, what are they going to do? We saw that video from Fort Lauderdale in the middle of the night. The crisis actors were walking in the crosswalk, detained, being extracted. The Black Hawk landed in the middle of the city. And that alarmed a lot of people, and it's concerning to a lot of people because it appears that that's a snapshot of what Jade Helm is going to do everywhere when the exercises get going. So the concern has been at the beginning was, is it going to go live, and are they going to extract citizens? That was the big concern. Since then, more research has been conducted, and now we're finding out that it is a training exercise for some things that are coming down, and we're going to talk about that. Infiltrators are going to be a part of the future of what's coming here to America. And these infiltrators are going to be sent out to every state, to your hometown, to find out who the potential militia members or patriot members or possible belligerents, insurgents, domestic terrorists, etc. in your city. They're going to find out who the militia groups are, which Christians gather that talk about the end times, and they're going to gather names, take names, and turn them into Big Brother, and that database is going to be uploaded to the Bluffdale, Utah Data Center in Utah. We'll talk about that in a moment. But right now, the infiltration process of gathering data is a part of what Jade Helm is, and it's also a part of the new doctrine of the military. So, ladies and gentlemen, please hear me and think about this. After you listen to this program, share it. I hope you're a subscriber so you can share this program with your friends and family. Share the information, repeat it to them, and then make a plan. Because if you are a part of a potential patriot group, you believe in liberty, you believe in the Constitution, they're going to infiltrate you. That one person that's going to show up out of the blue, hey, I just moved here from Texas, and I got my family and my wife, and hey, I heard you guys practice militia, can I join? He joins, he has a past, he has a history, you have dinner with him, and it turns out that he's an infiltrator. That is going to be one of the strategies in the future we need to develop, and I want to encourage everyone, because in the book of Revelation it says that eventually the beast is going to rise up and take over the whole world, and it's going to even overcome the saints of God. So the church is going to go underground and become a secret. So the people that want to gather are going to have to do it at the expense of potential death, kind of like what the Soviet underground church had to put up with. And when they developed strategies of infiltration and knowing who the spies were, knowing who to trust, who not to trust, we in America are going to have to develop that type of strategy once again. The merging of technology, joining with special forces. That is the key part of this entire new doctrine of the U.S. military. Now, I made mention a moment ago, or he mentioned the word asymmetric warfare. Here's a snapshot of the wiki page, which says asymmetric warfare can be described as a conflict where two belligerent differ in essence in the struggle. The term is also frequently used to describe what is called guerrilla warfare, insurgency, terrorism, counterinsurgency, counterterrorism. And we've seen the list from Homeland Security, from the FBI. You might be a terrorist, or that person's a terrorist if they believe in. John, you've seen the list, right?
Yes.
They believe in Bible prophecy. They're crazy Christians. They're extreme Christians. They believe in the Constitution. They're patriots. Goes down the line. Ex-veterans, veterans with post-traumatic stress. I mean, it's everyone. Everyone's a suspect. So what they're practicing in their new method of warfare, since we know that they're not practicing to go arrest Haji and monks in Jade Helm in Texas, they're practicing asymmetric warfare against enemy combatants, potential enemy combatants here in America. That's what it's for.
Well, it sounds to me like they're practicing for asymmetric warfare against anybody who actually thinks for themselves and attempts to mind their own business and has their beliefs, whether it's, you just went down the list, veterans, Christians primarily.
John, I believe this is true. When this thing gets going eventually, we are going to see a civil war. The Sons of Liberty that are developing from coast to coast in militia groups, picket groups that are assembling and talking about this, eventually one shot is going to get fired, and it's going to be the shot heard around the world, and it's going to change America as we know it.
Meanwhile, while that is going on, we see military weapons being deployed and shipped to Ukraine. We see the authorization for war still pending, and we see the war going on with Yemen. Warships are right outside of Yemen. The United States is orchestrating the entire event there, and more of these countries are fighting back.
Nothing ever gets done until activists get involved. And we're going to take this nation back, doggone it. We're going to take it back for God and the Constitution. But it's only through activism that we're going to do it. And you are the reason that I'm here today. Praise God. I'm just so pleased to serve with you at this time in our nation's history. God bless all of you out there. I appreciate you. I have our publication here, Aid and Abet Police Military Newsletter, and I want to share something with you here. I have a good buddy at one time, J. Edgar Hoover, director of the FBI. Here's what he said 40 years ago. He said the individual is handicapped by coming face to face with a conspiracy so monstrous that he cannot believe it even exists. And that's the problem we have today. This conspiracy is so monstrous, so demonic, that we tell people about it and they say, you're crazy. This is America. It can't happen here. So J. Edgar Hoover said that it was a conspiracy so monstrous that people don't even believe it exists. And that's the problem we have today, folks, is doing that, convincing people that this conspiracy is real. But praise God, we have all the evidence needed to prove it to anybody, if they'll just look at the evidence, that 9/11 was an inside job, right? Right. I want to tell you that there are red and blue lists out there. Have you already heard about the red and blue list, okay? I've had people calling me saying they go out to their mailbox and they find a little red dot or a little blue dot on their mailbox, and they wonder what the little red dot, blue dot is. Well, it's marking your mailbox by the government, so when foreign troops come in here on us after martial law, If you have a red dot on your mailbox, they take you out immediately and shoot you right in the head. But if you have a blue dot, they take you to the FEMA camps being built by Halliburton right now to house 50 million Americans. They're building enough concentration camps in America by Halliburton that Cheney's getting rich off of, Vice President Cheney's getting rich off of, to put those with the blue dot on your mailbox in those concentration camps. Now, if you go out and you find a pink dot on your mailbox, that means that they believe you'll be a good slave and you're going to go along with the program and serve our international Antichrist masters. So watch for that dot. They haven't got up to our area yet because they're afraid we might catch them putting the dots on the mailbox and they wouldn't get back to their home at night, if we catch them. But it's time to prepare, folks. It's time to prepare. It's time to work like we're going to win, which we are, but it's also time to prepare like you may lose temporarily. So I'm going to tell all of you, if you have not bought ammunition, if you have not bought guns, go get them now. Go get them now, because you won't be able to get them much longer. We got Bush and Cheney and Osama bin Laden in the Carlyle group together, and guess what they're doing? They're buying up all the American ammunition companies that make ammo in America. The Carlyle group's buying them up so that you and I can't get any ammunition. So go out and get your ammunition now and get your weapons now before you can't get them anymore, folks. Things are moving very rapidly. Now, we're either going to win it soon or we're going to lose it soon. Either one, but I think we're going to win it. Don't you agree?
No, you're going to die soon, either for Christ or as an armed enemy combatant.
I mean, the big story to me, it's like stands out like a silo in a desert. The head of Department of Homeland Security, the Himmler of our time, a rogue woman called Big Sis, with more power than any woman on the planet, so far as I can tell, signed a secret agreement with Russia just last week to bring 15,000 Russian troops to the United States of America. They are here now, and they're here waiting for an upcoming disaster. This is a violation of the Posse Comitatus Act. It is absolutely illegal. It has to be stopped. There's only one reason the Russian troops are on our soil. It's because this corrupt, evil administration knows that the people are getting closer to them. The administration fears the people, and the administration doesn't feel they can trust U.S. troops to shoot American citizens on U.S. soil. They're frightened that they may have to use Hessians to kill Americans. Is this a totally paranoid viewpoint of Michael Savage, or is it rational? Something's wrong with this whole story. Where is one worthless Republican on this issue? Where are they? Answer, they're in on the deal. They're complicit with this deal. They know about it. They approve of it. So the question for the American people is, why does the United States government need 15,000 Russian troops on our soil? What are they planning?
Okay, this is where you can see I'm at right there. This is what you see from the freeway. I've never seen so many. I drive this several times a week, back and forth. But I've never seen so many military vehicles in my life. Marine Corps logistics base. Wait, man. Just look at the roads. This is nothing. What you see right here in front, this is nothing. It's like, it goes on for like hundreds of rows. These tents, these are relatively new. These were here the last time, maybe a week ago, but before that, nope. And then you can see their training right there. It's just supposed to be a logistics base, but they're training other than for logistics there. There's more. You can see all of them back there. Look at all those vehicles back there. It's like rows and rows. Just look at all those back there. All these trailers. And here's the what I'm referring to as the mother load jackpot. Jesus Christ! Look at all of these. It's like, what the hell? It's like, oh my God! I'm going 40 miles an hour, and look at all these MRAPs. It's just all MRAPs. All MRAPs. And then more, and more, and more, and more. Oh my God. Look at all these. Look at just the rows and rows of these. Look at these things. This is ridiculous.
Marines obey orders, and when we're ordered to carry out a mission, we carry out that mission.
And this is assuming also that the people always in power care about the Constitution more than appeasing the international community. Of course this administration would jump at the chance to use an international obligation that we signed on to as a chance to enact more gun laws. It only gives the people on both sides of the aisle more power. Here is the actual treaty that we just signed. Article 5 says, each party shall establish and maintain a national control system, including a national control list. Well, what does that mean? That paves the way for a national gun registry and the tracking of all firearms. The panel then says that President has been a measured voice when it comes to gun control. The president knows it is difficult to pass anti-gun laws in America, and so instead they have taken another route. They go through the states. Bloomberg has a coalition, and they travel from state to state. In California, they are now seeing how much they can get away with by confiscating firearms for somebody who has any brush with the law whatsoever, and not even the law, hospitals.
And now the second in our series of stories this week on efforts to reduce gun violence. Tonight, Spencer Michaels reports on a California program to take guns away from those who no longer should legally have them.
Hey partner, what's your name?
William.
William, you on probation right now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you live here right now?
Yes,
which one's your
right now, yeah.
Okay, which one's your room?
I don't have a room.
You don't have a room?
No,
where do you stay?
I'm temporarily here. I sleep in the living room.
You sleep in the living room?
Yes, sir.
Okay, do me a favor, just while you're here right now,
Yes.
just take your hands out of your pocket.
Oh, sure,
okay?
I'm sorry.
That's all right. Do you have anything here that's illegal?
No, sir.
On a residential street in Sacramento County, Kisu Yo supervises a team of 9 agents from California's Department of Justice. Looking for guns, state records tell them are in the hands of those forbidden from having them.
Okay, we're going to go talk to people that have domestic violence restraining order, people who have been convicted of a felony, people who have mental health commitment.
But here we're being threatened by ISIS, and the government's philosophy is
let's disarm people so they can't defend themselves. And, that's unfortunately the way they're playing the game.
The administration may not be able to convince enough people in Congress to ban guns, but he doesn't really care. It is a full frontal assault. And then they're coming through the back door as well. International treaties, individual states, and progressives on both sides of the aisle. Please, I beg of you, America. We are living in amazing times. The MO is quite clear. They believe, progressives, that the American people are more dangerous than even the most hardened terrorists around the globe. And that sounds insane, but let me give you the evidence. We cannot get the president or the people like John McCain to stop shipping guns to dangerous Al-Qaeda members in Syria. This is happening. But they are trying a full court press, trying to take away your Second Amendment right from law-abiding citizens right here at home. Does that make sense? I don't think so.
But here we're being threatened by ISIS, and the government's philosophy is let's disarm people so they can't defend themselves. And, that's unfortunately the way they're playing the game.
SEAL Ben Smith is with me now, and Ben, good day to you. You were quite vocal on Sunday, got a lot of attention for what appeared to be a short but very succinct speech at the World War II Memorial. You said something to our producers a bit earlier today. You think the government is trying to provoke the veterans to do something. What do you mean by that?
And that's just not my statement. I mean, within the people who see things wrong here, who are looking at the shutdown, this can be absolutely planned, and it's a conversation topic. They want us to do something. They either want to diminish our voice or our significance, or draw contact, and they can crush us. I mean, you've got Sheila Jackson Lee, who is calling for martial law to end the shutdown. I mean, that's insane. That's getting rid of the Constitution of the United States, which is also what every service member has signed up to and including their life for, to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States against enemies both foreign and domestic. So we've got a government here that seems to be wanting to create the conditions that they want to take our Second Amendment. You know, they're going for the Second Amendment. They're trying to take guns from the veterans with PTSD and all those types of things. Voting rights. In the past elections, there was a lot of problems with the veterans in voting, getting the ballots back from overseas. And they want to discredit the military and get us to do something stupid so they can lock us down, get rid of, you know, you can call it a conservative Tea Party movement. It's more people who believe in the foundations of this country are the people that they're poking at, which are the citizens of this country.
Greens folks, team my back for another drive time. Look, I saw this story, what they're doing up there in Connecticut. They passed some new laws that will require citizens to register, I think it's assault weapons and high-capacity magazines.
The right thing is usually the hard thing to do. It's hard for me to speak here, to be here today to speak. As an aging baby boomer, it would have been easier to sit home. For the truth never comes easily. It comes with dues for those who choose to speak it. The truth is often not palatable or pristine, but it is simple. Simple, but far from easy. Security matters indeed. Of course it does. Safety. Based on the events in Newtown, Connecticut, December 14th, 2012. Not December 13th, 2012, the day which was confirmed by Bing itself that the interview with Principal Dawn Hochsprung was catched. Not December 13th, the day that the September 2013 FBI report said the shooting occurred. This was before the other report, the Uniform Crime Reporting of the FBI infamously declared no murders in Newtown in 2012. Declared no murders in Newtown in 2012. No murders in Newtown in 2012. Not December 13th, the day that the Social Security Death Index proclaimed was the day that Mr. Fictional himself, Adam Lanza, left this world. I was, as some of you here are now, I believed every word out of Anderson Cooper's mouth that day. But once the persecution of Wolfgang Halbig began, I wanted to ask why the Newtown police would send law enforcement into his home in Florida if they did not have something to hide. If they did not have something to hide. This is serious. This is a non-event that has turned the culture of the state of Connecticut and the culture of the United States of America upside down.
Maureen,
Wrap it up.
if you could please, that would be
We
wonderful.
the people are not as stupid as the people in this room think we are. I invite to at least watch the video. We need to talk about Sandy Hook. Again, the name of the video is We Need to Talk About Sandy Hook.
Now, I've said this even when I've been out campaigning, some of the meetings that I've gone to. I made a point. The Second Amendment is not about hunting. It is about protecting ourselves from a tyrannical government. That's right, I said it. I also said, make no mistake about it, gun control is not about crook control. It's about America control. That's what they want to do. And people say, no. It's about all the violence. Get out of my face with that. Look at Chicago, the gun violence in that place, a war zone. So, and this thing, the only reason we've had a resurgence in talks over new gun control measures is because white kids have been getting killed in these schools. But black folk have been killing each other like this, gun violence, for the last 20 years. Nobody talked about it because they didn't give a damn. But when the white kids started getting killed, I'm sorry, that's just, it is what it is. The media, the press, politicians, they use race as a tool. They use it to keep us divided and to keep us swinging from one end of the pendulum to the other on emotional tirades that have absolutely nothing to do with the real problem that's taking place. At any rate, crooks don't give a damn about gun control laws. They're crooks. That's what they do. This is about law-abiding citizens, and in particular, white middle-class Americans. Yes, who owns most of the guns legally in this country? White middle-class Americans. They want to know who you are, they want to know what you have, and they want to know where you live. That's all this is about. This is the first step. The people in Connecticut better do what the folk did over there in Colorado. Recall their politicians or whoever it is that is responsible for putting this into play. Because now anybody that does not go and register, they are instantly felons.
Among the fallen were also teachers, men and women who devoted their lives to helping our children fulfill their dreams. So our hearts are broken today for the parents and grandparents, sisters and brothers of these little children, and for the families of the adults who were lost.
It is what it is. Y'all need to stand and see what's going on with this country and what they're trying to do. Obama has even been laying the groundwork to prohibit other people from getting guns. This thing, one of his points when he gave that address, where he listed a number of things to do that they could do. One of them on the list, doctors, don't be afraid to let us know if you feel that somebody might be a threat. He said basically to hell with doctor-patient privilege. The military, keeping guys who had to deal with psychiatrists in the military from being able to own guns. I'm telling you, man, they laying it out. The only thing that holds our government back from going just wholesale ballistic on us is the Second Amendment and still our ability to vote. But if we keep advocating our responsibility to fire those that don't do what they're supposed to be doing, representing the will of the people and protecting states' rights, we will find ourselves disarmed. And when we become disarmed, it's over. It's over. That is what that is. And I just don't know how else to tell you. But y'all need to wake up and smell this coffee on these gun control issues. Don't let them take your guns. Because when they take your guns, when they disarm you, lights out. It's over. T-Mod out. Drive time till next time.
In order for them to accomplish their goal of total gun confiscation, they first need a crisis, any crisis, and this has already been tested during Hurricane Katrina.
And no one will be able to be armed. We will take all weapons.
It was a human drama with emotions and tensions running high. Patty Connie is still trying to recover physically and emotionally.
They really did a number on me.
She was on dry land, she had plenty of food and water, and didn't want to abandon her dogs.
I'm saying, look at all my food. I got plenty of food. They kept pushing me back, and ended up like this.
Then, Patty showed them a small revolver she was carefully holding in the palm of her hand. A camera crew was there to capture what unfolded next.
I said, it's not even loaded. And I dropped it on the floor.
You got a gun, you got a gun, you got a gun.
Well, they punched me in the face. Look at my black and blue marks. Look at what they did to me. They dragged me out of here. I really thought they were going to kill me. I really did.
See, in the 20th century, governments have murdered over 280 million of their own citizens, but first they had to confiscate the guns. And this is exactly what would take place here in America to all resistors once the guns are confiscated. When Adolf Hitler made his rise to power, he established the secret police in 1934, headed by Heinrich Himmler, known as the Gestapo. The role of the Gestapo was to spy on the German people and identify all opposition to Hitler's Third Reich. They were given full authority to investigate and report or suspect cases of criminal attacks against the Nazi Party, along with cases of sabotage, espionage, and treason. What made them so deadly and sinister was that they were also given authority to act without any judicial oversight. They became prosecutor, judge, jury, and executioner of anyone that stood in Hitler's way. They are purposely infuriating our police to a state of utter contempt and hatred of the U.S. citizens' constitutional rights. Like a dog on a leash being teased and taunted, that when they are given the same unrestrained powers that Hitler's Gestapo had, most of them would turn into cold-hearted savages. Just like an overpressured pipe that's ready to burst.
Yeah, get it out of my face. You're interrupting police operations, sir. Okay? You got that?
In the next 24 hours, you will learn about the streets, about the choices that will force a dedicated cop over the edge, all in the name of good. In the next 24 hours, the only thing more dangerous than the line being crossed.
Today's a training day, Officer Hoyt. It's your chance to give you a little taste of reality. You think you can handle it?
Is the cop who has crossed it.
I will do anything you want me to do. Will you? Let's see.
Well, for anybody out there paying attention to the game and the world stage for all these years, and paying attention to what's happening in Ukraine, and trying to figure out the key players behind all the madness, shocking revelations coming through some mainstream media outlets showing the proof that I've stated all along, that people just did not want to believe that these events in Ferguson and elsewhere have all been staged and backed by the elite, and they're admitting it. George Soros, tied in to so many different things, I could go on and on and on. This billionaire has been caught putting out at least $33 million in 1 year to support already established groups that emboldened the grassroots, on-the-ground activists in Ferguson. Now, this is according to most recent tax filings of his nonprofit Open Society Foundations. So these tax filings have blown this whole thing wide open, showing who has supported this whole orchestration. There's no more guessing. There's no more trying to point the finger at this group or that group. This lone billionaire with the key mark 33 million with his Illuminati signature right there on it. It doesn't get any bigger than this. We're trying to figure out who's behind this whole orchestration. It's right here, right now. This man behind all of it, and all proven through his tax filings.
David D. Rockefeller said, "All we need is a right major crisis, and the nations will accept the New World Order." When these financially insolvent banks fail, it will bring about the elite's desired effect of chaos, anarchy, and mass death on a global scale, in which societies will be turned upside down overnight, especially here in the US, once these big banks take everyone's unsecured deposits to recapitalize themselves, because they are broke. They are insolvent. They know that very soon millions will be lined up at their doors to withdraw their deposits, which they do not have. So they are going to steal your money. They're going to take your money. I know they're telling us everything is okay, but it's not. They're telling us that the economy is in recovery, unemployment levels are down, while at the same time the big banks are on one hand quick to take your deposits, and on the other hand setting up restrictions on you withdrawing your money, because they will have to take it to recapitalize themselves, just as they've already tested in Greece.
The Parliament in Cyprus has delayed until Tuesday a decision on whether to allow an EU bailout, which will cost its citizens millions of their hard-earned euros. Every bank customer will have their cash taxed if it goes through. The plan caused panic over the weekend, with people emptying ATM machines, fearing their life savings could be plundered.
The EU finance ministers and the International Monetary Fund had agreed upon a 10 billion euro bailout for the country on the condition that this bank deposit tax be imposed. Now, this could amount to up to 9.9% of those who have more than 100,000 euros in the bank. And for many people there, it's their entire life savings that they have they feel are now in trouble. And the panic that has been stirred over the weekend, people trying to get money out of the cash machines, but electronic transfers have been stopped and the machines have been running out of money, and people there are calling this essentially unfair, unjust, and simply robbery, their savings being taken away from them.
Greek pensioners lined up outside banks, desperate to access their monthly payouts. With banks closed until after a referendum on bailout proposals, cash withdrawals from ATMs have been limited to 60 euros. Pensions were supposed to be exempt from capital controls, but conflicting information has left some frustrated with the government's actions. We're waiting for our pensions that we've been working for our whole lives. We're waiting for our pensions that we've been working for our whole lives. And they're fooling us, and we're waiting here like beggars to withdraw our own money, the fruits of our labor. This is what we're waiting for, and they're fooling us. They're keeping us outside. No one has come out to inform us. The TV channels are now saying one thing, and in an hour they say something else. They're driving us crazy, everyone. Of course we're worried. I'm not so heartless as to not be worried. Everyone is worried. But I'm expecting worse to come. Everyone is worried. But I'm expecting worse to come. Worse to come. Despite the breakdown of talks over the weekend, EU officials are continuing efforts to salvage a deal with Athens. Anti-austerity demonstrators are expected to continue protests outside Parliament, with a pro-Europe demo scheduled for Tuesday, as the country hurtles towards a default and a possible Eurozone exit.
According to official government numbers, the top 25 banks in the United States now have a grand total of $236 trillion of exposures to derivatives. But there are 4 banks that dwarf everyone else. And the derivative is nothing but a gamble, or a side bet. JP Morgan's total assets are $1,945,466,000,000, nearly $2 trillion. The total exposure to derivatives is $70,088,625,000,000. That's more than $70 trillion. Citibank has a total assets of $1,346,747,000,000, and their total exposure to derivatives is $62,247,698,000,000. That's more than $62 trillion. Bank of America's total assets are $1,433,716,000,000, a bit more than $1.4 trillion. Their total exposure to derivatives are $38,850,900,000,000, a bit more than $38 trillion. Goldman Sachs total assets are $105,616,000,000, just a shade over $1.5 billion. Yes, you heard that correctly. Their total exposure to derivatives are $48,611,684,000,000. That's more than $48 trillion. When the panic sets in, these broke, financially insolvent banks will collapse because of the hundreds of thousands of people that will rush to their nearest banks to get all their money that they have deposited in these criminal banks. And this will cause them to shut their doors because they don't have your money to give to you, causing people to look towards their last resort, the Federal Reserve Bank. Hundreds of thousands of people will rush to one of the 12 nearest Federal Reserve banks in the nation, believing that at least each depositor is insured to at most $250,000 by the FDIC, only to find out that they don't have your money either. It's all gone. Which, at this point, the people will be so enraged to the point of wanting to spill blood that these bankers will not be able to leave their branches alive. This is why the Department of the Treasury just purchased thousands of survival kits for bank examiners. The latest eye-opener comes from the U.S. Treasury, a department tasked with managing the country's debt as well as the banking system as a whole. According to the new report, the Treasury Department has ordered over $200,000 of survival kits for as many as 3,814 employees who oversee the federal banking system.
Is the government concerned of an uprising of some sort in response to the economic collapse?
Why else would Homeland Security just spend another $80 million on defense against civilians? Of course they are. They know it's good. You know, they may be stupid on one end, the two political parties, but on other levels, they're very shrewd. They know what's going on.
So does Homeland Security believe that the American citizens are a threat? Are they terrorists?
It's not a question of terrorists. Look what happened when the government shutdown happened and people couldn't get their food stamps. Look at the runs they had in Walmarts. Look how berserk the people went. You know my saying, when people lose everything and have nothing left to lose, they lose it. And more people are losing it. And when this crisis hits, you're going to see a lot of people lose it. And I believe that that's why the founding fathers would be turning in their grave if they saw what happened to this country. You know, as I've been thinking about it, traditional religions have strayed so far away from their roots as the United States government has strayed from its Constitution. So yes, why do you think they're robbing us of all our rights? Because they have the right to do anything they want to us to keep us down as the economy explodes and to keep order. Everyone knows about the militarization of the police forces and how the military is sending over all of their equipment that they don't use anymore, a lot of it, to the police forces, even in little towns. So yes, they're preparing for the worst.
Gerald, Chase calls their recent notice to bank customers streamlining and de-risking. Are they playing word games, or is it accurate to call their actions capital controls?
Are they playing word games? Of course. I mean, look what they're doing. Who can get away with this? And you can see what's going on over here in a lot of ways. Since 2009, JP Morgan Chase has paid nearly $30 billion, that's with a B, $30 billion worth of fines and spending that in litigation for the actions that they have taken that are both illegal and immoral. So even though they're making a lot of dough, $30 billion is a lot of money. And I really suspect from my experiences in the past that JP Morgan Chase may not have the money that they need to keep their systems operating. Even though people say, well, you know, the overnight rate's near zero, they can get all they want. It's not that easy. And I'll tell you why I say that. From my own experience, I wrote about it in the Trends Journal twice when I tried to make deposits in those numbers that Chase is talking about, withdrawals, excuse me, in the $50,000 range. You should see the song and dance I had to go through. I had to put up a scene twice. I mean an ugly scene. Once
So Gerald, you recently went to the bank and actually tried to make a $50,000 withdrawal.
Exactly.
To test their policies.
Yeah. And one was with HSBC and the other one was with Key Bank. What a bunch of criminals that are running these banks. You thought I was stealing the money rather than trying to take out my own. Now let's look at when Chase did this. They did this while the United States was going through that calamity of raising the debt ceiling. A calamity that destabilized much of the world financial markets. They are on a tenterhook as to where this economy is going. And I believe all of these restrictions are being put in place because when the system collapses, you get screwed. Just like HSBC, just like Key Bank, and just like John the Slime Corzine from MF Global stole my money out of a segregated account and said, hey, that's the law. The law of the land is the banks are screwing everybody and they're putting these restrictions in place so that when it collapses, you get screwed as they have a smile on their face.
Now, Gerald, I want to take it back for a minute. If the American people are being screwed by the banks, as you say, what can we do? What can the American people do to protect themselves now?
You know, for me, I only speak for myself. I don't give any financial advice. Why are you keeping your money there with them anyway? What are you getting for it? They don't give you anything back on your interest. It's chump change. It doesn't pay for anything. Why are you doing business with these criminal operations? So for me, I try to do with credit unions and my local bank, and I put my money in other places so I could get my hands on it without going through an SOB middleman that I know has a criminal track record. Here, pick up this past Wednesday's Financial Times. Look at the headline. Rabobank faces $1 billion fine over LIBOR. I'll guarantee you that 99% of your listeners don't know what a Rabobank is. Maybe they thought I'm mispronouncing it and I'm saying robber bank. But no, it's a Dutch joint over there. Another one of the money changers that are rigging the LIBOR rates. And then you look at who else rigged them. Who else? Oh, Royal Bank of Scotland. Don't lose your temper. Say Royal with that Royal line in it to make it seem proper. And Barclays and one after another. It's a criminal operation. No one can get away with this crap. Getting fined billions of dollars and not one head rolling. Can't people see what's going on? Why do business with criminals? It's like going out. Election day is coming. Get ready, election day. Go pull the lever for a lesser of two evils. Same thing in dealing with these SOBs. Let's just look at the facts and go back to Chase.
Well, let's do that. Let's do that for a minute. You just said that you believe that Chase does not have the capital on hand to accommodate these types of transfers. What makes you believe that? I mean, just by limiting the transfers themselves, there has to be something else.
They just paid, just recently, they're being fined, just within the last week, they're being fined another $13 billion. And as I mentioned, since 2006, when you add them all, 2009, when you add them all up, they're about $30 billion in the hole. So do they have the money? If there's a financial run, will they be able to cover it? And that's what I'm saying.
I'm Greg Hunter. Welcome to USAWatchdog.com. With us once again, Ellen Brown from Web of Debt. Ellen Brown, thank you for joining us today on USAWatchdog.com.
Thanks, Greg.
I know you're also running for treasurer in the state of California, and you also are an attorney and a prolific writer on Web of Debt. They're finalizing plans that they're going to take bondholders and depositors and above 100 euros. But what happened in Cyprus was you couldn't get to your money, period. Whether you had 100,000, I should say, euro, or €1 million, or 10,000 euro, you can have just only so much, a few hundred euro a day out of your account. That was it. It ruins people.
You could just imagine if a number of those banks go down, they're not going to have the money in those insurance funds to cover the deposits, so you're still out of luck.
I think here they have, I don't know, 10 around, I mean, we're using rough numbers, 44, 50 billion, something like that, less than 50 billion, insure 10 trillion in deposits, and then of that, insured deposits are about 6 trillion.
32 billion the last time I looked was in the fund. Yeah, it's 32 billion in the fund.
And to insure, I think the insured deposit for $250,000 is something like 6 trillion. Overall, we have about 10 trillion in deposits on the bank, which I can't believe anybody would have that kind of extra money. An additional 4 trillion with no insurance. They're trusting the banks. Here, could what's happening in Europe, the bail-in scenario, hit America? And do you think it will hit America?
I think it will, because they don't have any alternative if they're gonna keep these banks alive. They have to reduce their liabilities. I mean, I saw a paper on that I think it was from the BIS that this is the solution. Not to worry, we'll just knock down the liabilities and then we'll be solvent again. But what that means is we'll be taking the depositors' money.
And you think that's coming to America?
Right. Well, J.P. Morgan Chase has $1 trillion in deposits, and so does Bank of America, way more than the FDIC fund would cover. And they're gambling. Well, just even take the interest rate swaps. What if the interest rate is raised on the swaps? They're going to have to pay out a lot. I mean, that will probably bankrupt them right there. So that's $1 trillion in deposits covered by 32 billion by the FDIC. And it used to be the FDIC could hit up the Treasury, the U.S. Treasury, but now they can't because it's in the Dodd-Frank Act that we're not going to bail them out in the event of a derivatives type bust.
And you think that just because your account says, "Oh, I'm insured to $250,000," and I've only got $150,000, and no insured deposits ever lost money, they're going to break that record, aren't they? They're going to break that string of no insured deposit has lost money in your estimation, because there's not enough money there.
Right, and they're making it legal. I mean, they're just saying this is what we should do. This is what will be done in the event that you're not solvent. They're too big to fail. They can't allow these banks to fail. So what will they do? They will take the deposits and case solved. And we can't even sue them because that's the actual recommendation from the Bank for International Settlements or the Financial Stability Board, which is part of or in the same building as the Bank for International Settlements in Basel, Switzerland, that says that the G20 countries are supposed to do it that way. So even if we try to sue JP Morgan for taking our deposits, they'll say, no, that's what we were told to do. Living wills, that's the way we set it up. They approved it. We did it.
So stealing and fraud is the ongoing business model for American banks.
Right.
Brand new guest. He's a best-selling author. He sold more than 2 million books of this book right here, The Harbinger. He's got his latest book out is called The Mysteries of the Shmita. If you guessed Jonathan Kahn, you guessed correctly. Jonathan Kahn, thank you for joining us today from New Jersey.
Great to be with you, Greg.
Hi. I know that you wrote this huge bestseller. Really, these are kind of companion books. I went through it for about 2 hours last night and said, wow, this really kind of goes with this. And this is your latest book, and this is the Mysteries of the Shmita. And you said in this book that you didn't really want to write this book, that the book authors or the book publishers came to you and said, why don't you write a book? And you said, I don't want to write a book that dates things. Could you explain why you didn't want to write this book initially and what Shmita is? It's about dating, calamity and about 7-year cycles. I've oversimplified it, I know, but can you tell me what shmita is and why didn't you want to write this book initially?
Yeah, well, it was, I'd written The Harbinger, and, so there was a lot of speculation concerning the shmita, which begins in The Harbinger, and that concerns this year that we're in right now. And I didn't want people to be focusing or make their main focus dates or date states. So that was one thing. The bigger picture. But the thing is that there was so much here, and when I started pondering it, it was so gigantic, this mystery, that it has been affecting all of our lives since the moment we were born. I mean, this is the mystery behind the rise and fall of the economy, the crashing, when Wall Street crashes, even the rise and fall of nations, when America rose, what may be the fall of America. It is so precise that, as far as I know, it's the only source, or the only thing in existence that actually gives the dates, not just the times of the greatest crashes of Wall Street, but the actual dates down to the hours of when Wall Street crashes. And this is long before it ever happened. So the mystery of the shmita goes back 3,000 years, and it begins on Mount Sinai, actually, when the law of the shmita comes to Israel. And what basically was this: every 7 days was a Sabbath, but every 7 years, most people don't know, was a Sabbath year. And that year was called the shmita. And during that year, it's a total economic rest. There's no sowing, reaping of the land. There's no buying or selling of the fruits of the land. And on the last day of the shmita, it is called Elul 29 in the Bible. Elul 29, that's the date. On that day is a complete wipeout. All debt is wiped out. All credit's wiped out. And the financial accounts of the nation are wiped clean. So now this was supposed to be a blessing, but the shmita turns from a blessing to a sign of judgment or calamity on a nation that has once known God, turned against his ways and turned away, and that comes and strikes the financial realm, economic realm, and the nation's sustenance. So the big question is it possible that this mystery is actually in effect now, that it is affecting every part of our life, that it has affected our past, our present, and will affect our future? And the answer, the mystery of the shmita is revealing the answer is yes, it is affecting us right now.
And if you take a look at 2001, you had the tech, the time 9/11, just not long before that we had the tech crash. I think 2001, and then you look at 2008, and that was a huge financial calamity. I was working at CNN in late 2007 and 2008, and the math was terrible. But of course, that's a man thing, not a God thing, and God way outranks the math. And now we're talking 7 years in future, so 2008, 2015, and we're looking at. If the shmita is correct, and I know you think it is, we're looking at some kind of fallout this fall. Is that correct?
The only question, and this is where I don't want to be dogmatic, but I want people to be aware and be warned, is that the cycle. Let me give you an example. In the last 40 years, even going back farther, you have these collapse of the market or Wall Street long-term collapses. The dates the beginning are 1973, 1980, 1987. 2000 and 2007. Now, every single one of them is on the 7-year cycle. Not only that, every single one of them happens at the time of the shmita, not just a 7-year cycle, but on the exact appointed time. And even in the middle of that, 1994, you have the bond market massacre, the greatest bond market collapse in history to that date. So every single one. So this has been, I'm not being dogmatic, but this has happened every single time. And the last two have been so exact. It's not just that there was a crash at that time. What you have is in the greatest stock market day crash, point crash, up to that day is in September 17th, caused by 9/11. That day that it crashed is Elul 29, the day that's appointed in the Bible. That's the exact day when you have to wipe out financial accounts, and that becomes a sign of warning of a nation under judgment. So you got the exact day, September 17th, Elul 29, not just Elul 29 that happens once a year. Elul 29 that happens once every 7 years. And then that record holds for 7 years until you get to the great crash of the Great Recession, the greatest crash in history, September 29th. They go into the New York Stock Exchange, ring the bell refuses to ring, they take it as a sign. That day comes the greatest crash in American history. When did that take place? On Elul 29, the exact same day, and not just Elul 29, the exact day, the wipeout day of the shmita that happens only once every 7 years. So the two greatest crashes up to those days happen exactly 7 biblical years apart, down to the day, down to the hour, down to the minute. That, Greg, is how exact this thing is. So that would make me say, even though I'm not dogmatic, we need to be aware. We have entered a year of the Shmita now. I believe that in this time period, first of all, if you have anything linked to the stock market, I mean, unless you have some supernatural knowledge or some amazing knowledge that there's some way, in general, I would not be putting my stock in the stock market, number one. Or have things that you have attached to it. A lot of people don't realize that their pensions may be attached to the stock market. Number two, I also believe that we should have essentials, meaning that it is a wise thing, we're talking about a prudent man, a wise thing to have essentials in store, that if there is a collapse, and if there is the collapse not only of the markets, but of infrastructure, of services, if these things should break down, then you would be okay for a time period. And so, in the worst case scenarios, there's no worst case scenario, you've got stuff that you can use anyway. So I believe it is wise. I'm not a survivalist, I'm more of a revivalist, but the point is I do believe that we should be wise in all things. The key here in practical terms is safety. Safety. That's the key. I would not go with things that are risky, but safety. I would not put my trust in a house of cards.
I tell people all the time on my site, I say, listen, go out and buy food and water. It's cheap insurance. If you don't use it, if you don't have to use it, you can always just use it up. Or it's not that much money. Now, you buy car insurance and you pay $500 every 6 months. And at the end of every 6 months, you say, oh, I didn't have a wreck. Oh, I got to go out and buy some more insurance.
Exactly.
I mean, $500. You spend. Some people say, "Well, I get this question a lot too about poor people, about people not very poor." I tell them, "Do you have a data package? Good, get rid of it. Do you have cable TV? Yeah, cut it off. Do you have a car? Start riding a bike. Take all that money and divert it into buying food and water." Am I telling them wrong?
No, I don't believe you are, and it's exactly what you said. I mean, we spend $10,000, $12,000 on health insurance. If anything goes wrong, exactly what you say. We don't complain if we don't get sick. But the point is, and this is much less than that, but these are basics for life. I mean, we should have this anyway, I believe. This is basic to stay alive. This is basic to stay alive. Basic to stay alive. And the thing is that, if we're saying that these things are always going to work perfectly, I don't believe they're always going to work perfectly. I believe, again, we are at the verge of collapse, and you need to have, I believe, enough just to get through that time, not in fear, but the most important thing is get right spiritually. But the most important thing is get right spiritually. But the most important thing is get right spiritually. Secondly, then be a wise man or woman and do what is wise in view of such things, which I believe you should have anyway.
One of the things in your book that you said to me, you said the number one question after doing this book is that people ask you about America's future.
The mystery of the Shmita with Israel, it actually, when Israel totally rejected God, totally turned away from its foundation, it actually was destroyed. So what I'm saying is this. One of the things about, for instance, Bible prophecy is that when you look at the end time prophecies, you don't see America as prominent. So it means that somehow there's going to be a change from America being the head of nations to something. And I've warned about this for a long time. Well, I believe this. I believe that if we don't get back, if America does not return to its foundations and in God, that the American age entirely will come to an end. We will not be the head of nations in any way, and we will go through very hard times. And so I believe that and that's actually kind of a law of the Bible. It's also where the harbingers are all converging, and it's also what the Shmita is saying. So that is the warning. The warning of collapse is not just economic or financial, but it is also something even much greater. So I believe we can even see the beginning of a turn of history, and I believe we're already seeing it. So I believe that the days of I'll put it this way: you cannot mock God. You cannot defy Him and mock the one who's the source of your blessings and expect those blessings to continue.
That is going to happen in 2015. My elite friends have told me certain things about what are going to be taking place in the near future. First of all, before I give those items, I would like to give some background so that you'll know why I'm able to say some of the things I'm going to say today. Many years ago, I was actually invited to be the chaplain to the elite of the world. And for 3 years' time, by the providence of God, I lived with the people that we only hear about, and very few people ever get to know. May I state as emphatically as I possibly can, that there is a group of people on the face of the earth who control the world. I can say that because I sat in the board meetings with them. I know they exist. In 2015, the elite have full intentions in bringing in the New World Order in its entirety. Now, they've been working on this for a long time. You remember it announced by George Herbert Bush many, many years ago, the New World Order.
Out of these troubled times, our fifth objective, a new world order can emerge, a new era, freer from the threat of terror, stronger in the pursuit of justice, and more secure in the quest for peace. An era in which the nations of the world, East and West, North and South, can prosper and live in harmony.
On November the 16th of 2014, the money in your bank account was stolen. You may have caught it. A few people who were in the know did. I received information about it. And what happened on that day was the G20 literally stole the money from your bank account. Let me try to explain the G20. The 20 most prominent nations in the world were meeting together on that day of November the 16th, and they decided that the money in your bank account no longer belonged to you and to me, but rather it belongs to the bank. And you are just a depositor who, if you have any money left after the derivative bubble decides to crash, and they know it's going to, your bank account will be used to pay the bank debt for you given any money.
When these banks shut down and take people's money, their last resort would be to turn to the FDIC. Guess how long they have to pay you back? 100 years. Yeah, you heard me correctly. 100 years. You're never gonna get that back. This is why they have these tanks. They know that the most civilized individual in desperate need of food will lose their humanity. There's over 100 million people on government assistance. People don't have money, they don't have jobs, and people are getting desperate. And I just want you to see this guy here.
Thank you. If you do me a favor, yes. Could you empty that till for me, please? Put it right here. What do you mean? Empty the till. Put your tills right here. So I'm robbing you, sir. You sure? Yes, I'm sure. Why do you want to do that? Because I need the money. I've got kids that need to be fed, sir. And I know I am, sir. I realize that. And I really am sorry to have to do this. But I've got kids. How about if I give you $40 and this is it? Well, I can't do that, sir. I've got rent to pay, I've got bills, and the kids need to eat. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I really am sorry. And if I ever get back on my feet again, sir, I'll bring it back. I'm sorry. God be with you, man. Thank you very much, and with you too. Thank you.
Guaranteed that he's tried his best to find a job and couldn't find it. And this is just a glimpse of what we can expect. I feel compelled to warn you and to give you godly direction at this critical time. Now is the time to kiss those good old days goodbye, because we are now living in the prophetic age of global persecution of all true saints. Thus, this is last cause, especially for American Christians, to prepare now to live sober and righteously in the wake of imminent savage persecution of Christians here in America, of the likes of which has never ever been seen before. For well over 200 years, professing Christians here in America were able to live in freedom from all-out persecution of Christianity, where specifically just Christians alone are systematically targeted as the #1 enemy, and our voices and influences on society silenced. In the wake of this stripping of our freedoms and rights to live every aspect of our lives in the reflection of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, there has only been a few of us that have come out to sound the alarm of this satanic, sinister plot as fact, while the majority of believers are either ignorant or are too afraid to do so due to their spineless, lying pastors and preachers. Modern-day fruitless, apostate so-called Christianity here in America has produced lukewarm believers who believe that pleasures, prosperity, and peace are the marks of true Christianity, which is totally contrary to what Jesus told us in John 16:33. These things have I spoken unto you, that in me ye might have peace. In the world ye shall have tribulation. Be of good cheer. Now, why would our Lord Jesus tell us to be of good cheer in the midst of mass persecution, shouting and praising God and encouraging others to do so in the face of mass persecution? Jesus explains here, I have overcome the world. See, Satan and his wicked world has already lost, and regardless how big their guns and tanks are, and no matter what type of weapons they have created to use against us, they will not prosper against any of us that are living and dying in Christ during this great tribulation. True Christianity has always had the mark of poverty, imprisonments, and persecution, and this is what we must now prepare for, and also warn as many others as possible to do the same, because our windows of opportunity to do so are closing fast. This coming persecution in Antichrist's satanic New World Order will shape and mold many of us into the true, pure image of our Lord Jesus Christ, as we are totally stripped from our families, our property, our constitutional rights, and our lives as Great Tribulation saints. Under Antichrist's global persecution of true Christians, Daniel chapter 12, verse 10. Many should be purified and made white and tried, but the wicked should do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand, but the wise shall understand. This wicked nation has surpassed the normal rebellion against the holy, righteous, and merciful God, and it hates all reproof or correction of it. The people of this nation have developed a satiable appetite for whoredom, but not just any regular whoredom, but the worst of all whoredoms, sadomasochistic whoredom, as millions of Americans have flocked to the movie theaters to see that which is spewed right out from the very pits of hell, right through the sewer pipes of hell-bound Hollywood, 50 Shades of Grey. And it has set records at box office of $266 million in ticket sales year to date. Because of mass whoredom, 3,700 babies are mass murdered through abortions every 26 seconds of the day in abortion mills by the people of this nation. And to add to this, the internet is dripping with pornography 24 hours a day, as 89% of its use is for porn. And it's not just affecting adults, it's having a major, devastating, destructive impact on the youth. And through what means? You guessed it, cell phones.
A 3.75 grade average, student council, and the sports.
Father in heaven.
And his connection to his family. He is one of 8 children, and at 17, the oldest of those still living at home. And it almost doesn't fit that Nathan once managed to cover up from everybody a habit he could not shake, until he finally did. An addiction. Online pornography.
So 12 to 13, all the way up to probably 14, it was kind of there, uninterrupted. I became almost numb to it.
Meaning what?
It became such a part of my pretty much daily routine.
It was automatic.
It was automatic, yeah, exactly.
Nathan is far from alone. There is still little research on just how many U.S. kids are addicted to online pornography, but one study reports exposure can begin at a very young age, for some as young as 8 years old. Of course, pornography is nothing new, but we are a quantum leap now from the world where porn came in magazines and on VHS tapes to one where it is available via smartphone, to one where it is available via smartphones and tablets, and yes, at the push of a button. Nathan would view it late at night on the family computer. He got good at covering his tracks.
Eventually I got to deleting that and deleting specific searches and cleaning up my mess afterwards, to the time where I timed it masterfully.
It just did not fit at all into who he was in the rest of his life.
I had a sister tell me that a lady friend confided to her that her 12-year-old daughter was addicted to porn. But what else can you expect when it's being forced into their minds in public schools?
Do not let children watch this episode of the American Life League Report. When most people think of Planned Parenthood, they think of the babies it kills through abortion, or the mountains of birth control it dispenses. But another side to Planned Parenthood, which should be equally considered, is its obsession with sex. Sex toys, sex contests, sex balloons, penis-shaped balloons, penis cupcakes, vagina cakes, vagina macaroons, vagina fruit roll-ups, giant vagina costumes. All of these things play a central role in Planned Parenthood's community activities. But what's truly shocking is how these perverts are allowed unfettered access to our children while raking in government cash to sell them unrestrained sex. Oh, Planned Parenthood will claim that what they teach kids is scientific and age-appropriate. But the fact of the matter is that age-appropriate is a standard concocted by Planned Parenthood itself so that it can sell pornography to kids as science. Why would they do this? Just as the goal of a drug dealer is to make drug addicts, Planned Parenthood's goal is to make sex addicts, and they follow the same business model. For instance, Planned Parenthood's gateway drug is masturbation. One of its primary resources for 10-year-olds is a book called It's Perfectly Normal, and it sells masturbation to kids with graphic images of naked boys and girls masturbating, men and women having sex, and even things like this, and this, and this. If a dirty old man showed these things to a 10-year-old kid in a park, he'd be arrested. But when Planned Parenthood shows them to kids in the classroom, it gets government money. But that's just the start. Once they get to high school, right about the time that they hit puberty, Planned Parenthood tells vulnerable teens stimulating and intimate things about sex. Just look at what its website for teens says. The link to Our Bodies takes teens to a page that provides graphic displays of genitals and tells them about how pleasurable the clitoris is and how pleasurable breasts are to touch and massage. This section, on sex and masturbation, encourages boys and girls to masturbate and tries to dispel any embarrassment or hesitation in trying it. It also describes orgasms and encourages anal sex and oral sex. This section, titled LGBTQ, tells young teens that all sexual orientations are perfectly normal. The page on homosexuality, titled Coming Out, displays a teenage boy in an intimate pose with what appears to be an adult man. This section explains how to have gay sex using a condom, dental dam, and even plastic wrap.
On top of this, there's a mass push of homosexualization of this nation on the whole population as a norm, as the masses are being force-fed gay wedding cake through their TV sets, which are nothing more than satanic family altars now. And by it, the people of this nation have now become idol worshippers of men and women that have sold their souls to Satan. People that have literally given themselves over to Satan for pride, money, fame, to be used as major tools of distractions to keep the spiritually blind people away from God and hooked on vain and or satanic entertainment as the minions of Satan are preparing for the mass slaughter of them to secure their souls to an eternal state of hellfire for all eternity. Woe unto this proud, wicked nation that God is so abundantly blessed and granted freedoms that surpass all other nations, in which men could worship the one and only true living God by the freedom of their conscience. Man has taken God-given freedoms laid forth in the U.S. Constitution to outright and utterly reject God's precepts and statutes. The U.S. Constitution no longer has any real validity because this nation has totally outright rejected God and has become a major abomination in his sight. And he told us what he would do to a nation that lives in all-out, flagrant, perpetual sins with no regard or remorse for their abominable wicked sins in Ezekiel chapter 14, 13 through 21, which says, Son of man, when the land sinned against me by trespassing grievously, Then will I stretch out my hand upon it, and I will break the staff of bread thereof, and I will send famine upon it, and I will cut off man and beast from it. And though these 3 men, Noah, Daniel, and Job, were in it, they should deliver but their own souls by their righteousness, saith the Lord God. If I cause noisome beasts to pass through the land, that they spoil it, so that it be desolate, that no man may pass because of the beast. Though these 3 men were in it, as I live, saith the Lord God, they shall deliver neither sons nor daughters. They shall only be delivered, but the land shall be desolate. For if I bring a sword upon the land and say, sword, go through the land, so that I cut off man and beast from it, though these 3 men were in it, as I live, saith the Lord, they shall deliver neither sons nor daughters, but they only shall be delivered themselves. Or if I send pestilence into the land, and pour out my fury upon it in blood, to cut off from it man and beast, though Noah, Daniel, and Job were in it, as I live, saith the Lord, they shall deliver neither son nor daughter. They shall but deliver their own souls by their righteousness. See, without God, man has no unalienable rights. Therefore, God has removed his protection from this sin-filled, wicked, abominable nation as a whole. But also know this, he would never leave nor forsake his true faithful saints, whom love and fear him. And it is him alone, fellow saints, that we must place all of our trust in, and prepare our minds and hearts as we carry our crosses to even suffer death to soon meet our Lord. And for those of you that are perhaps convicted and can clearly see the inevitable chaos and judgment to sweep through this nation like a ferocious storm, but you have not given your life to Christ or are straddling the fence, please repent. Draw nigh to God, and he will draw nigh to you. Cleanse your hands, ye sinners, and purify your hearts, ye double-minded. Be afflicted and mourn and weep. Let your laughter be turned to mourning and your joy to heaviness. Humble yourselves in the sight of the Lord, and he shall lift you up. He will. For all of you that are hoarding gold and silver, please don't think that your gold and silver will save you from this judgment, because God's holy word says in Zephaniah chapter 1 verse 14 through 18, the great day of the Lord, it is near, it is near. It hastened greatly, even the voice of the day of the Lord. The mighty man should cry there bitterly. That day is a day of wrath, a day of trouble and distress, a day of wasteness and desolation, a day of darkness and gloominess, a day of clouds and thick darkness, a day of the trumpet and alarm against the fenced cities and against the high towers. And I will bring distress upon men, and they shall walk like blind men, because they have sinned against the Lord, and their blood shall be poured out as dust, and their flesh is dung. Neither their silver nor their gold shall be able to deliver them in the day of the Lord's wrath, but the whole land shall be devoured by the fire of his jealousy. For he shall make even a speedy riddance of all them that dwell in the land. Ezekiel chapter 7 verse 19 says, they shall cast their silver in the streets, and their gold shall be removed. Their silver and their gold shall not be able to deliver them in the day of the wrath of the Lord. They shall not satisfy their souls, neither fill their bowels, because it is the stumbling block of their iniquity. Now let's drop down to verse 23. Make a chain, for the land is full of bloody crimes. The city is full of violence. Wherefore I will bring the worst of the heathen, and they shall possess their houses, and I will make their pomp and their strong to cease, and their holy places shall be defiled. These so-called churches and false prophets and preachers. And also James 5, 1 through 3. It says, go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl for your miseries that should come upon you. Your riches are corrupted, and your garments are moth-eaten, and your silver and gold is cankered, and the rest of them should be a witness against you, and should eat your flesh as it were fire. Ye have heaped together treasures for your last days. Judgment will be for the proud, the greedy, and the wicked, but great tribulation will only be for the humble God-fearing saints. Tribulation means a cause of great trouble or suffering, and this is exactly what the saints will soon be going through. True Christians are the main targets of this global, United Nations, Satanic New World Order, beast government system, world police force, as stated in Revelation chapter 13, verse 7. And it was given unto him, the Antichrist, to make war with the saints and overcome them. And power was given him, the Antichrist, of all kindreds and tongues and nations. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, the Antichrist, whose names are not written in the book of the life of the Lamb, slain from the foundation of the world. The rise of the Antichrist is happening right now, and this beast government system will only be defeated by the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. Thus, you need to know that Antichrist soldiers will not be outgunned. Now let's say you have a whole neighborhood of heavily armed and well-trained militiamen. Obama has already said how he will eliminate your whole group.
I have two words for you. Predator drones. Predator drones. Predator drones. You will never see it coming. You think I'm joking?
Patriotic believers in Christ, you only have two choices of which you would die for. You can die fighting for the Bill of Rights and go straight to hell, or you can die for God's holy word. And if you don't want to die, there's a third option for you in the coming new global financial economic world system. Please repent now, because there's nothing that you, I, and anyone can do to change the course of prophecy.
And the whole agenda is to create a one world government where everybody has an RFID chip implanted in them. All money is to be in those chips. Right? There'll be no more cash. And this is getting me straight from Rockefeller himself. This is what they want to accomplish. And all money will be in your chips. And so instead of having cash, anytime you have money in your chip, they can take out whatever they want to take out whenever they want to. The total control. And if you're like me or you, and you're protesting what they're doing, they can just turn off your chip, and you have nothing. You can't buy food. You can't do anything. It's total control of the people. And so they want a one world government controlled by them, everybody being chipped, all your money in those chips.
Okay, we'll do. So, I'll stick the Band-Aid on here.
It sounds like science fiction, placing a microchip under the skin to get you in your door, to start your car, or maybe give your doctor your medical history.
Or what if your child were to disappear? Would you be willing to place a chip in your child if it might help them bring them home? Barry Davis recently looked into what all this technology is about and the possibilities of this science.
According to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, more than 2,000 children are reported missing each day. Most are found, some never are. But what if there was the technology which could help bring those children home? And that technology was no bigger than a grain of rice. Trish Dickerson is the mother of a rambunctious 3.5-year-old who has no fear of anything or anybody.
And it scares me. It scares me so much. Someone would just be like, hey, I have candy. And he'd be like, heck yes, candy.
We've been microchipping our pets for years, so why not use that technology to protect something far more precious?
It's technically realistic.
Stuart Lipoff is an electronics engineer who's watching the microchip industry closely. He says by placing signposts or portals like this handheld unit for animals in key locations, you could track someone. Some people are already placing microchips in their hands, which help them control everything from their computers to opening their front doors. And most of us use microchips every day to open doors to work or buy lunch with a debit or credit card.
The ick factor, it still is kind of icky of, having somebody, put something into your body that's a foreign thing.
Lipoff says it's only a matter of time before people realize how beneficial it could be. And not just for convenience, but in what literally could be a life-saving instance.
I might be one of those moms. In a heartbeat, I think I'd have him chipped. Just so I would feel safer.
Hi. The technology that we're talking about is called radio frequency identification. This is a standard technology that's been in use for several years now in corporate or office kind of environments. And what we're doing is we're applying it to an automotive environment. Right now, I have an RFID chip mounted or surgically implanted in my left hand. It allows me to do all the same functions that the card does, but with my hand.
So what you're telling me is you just started your car, not only without a key, but you started it with your bare hand.
Yes.
President Obama met with China's president earlier this month in Southern California. They discussed economic and security issues. In an interview for PBS, I asked the president what he thinks about China.
They have achieved such rapid growth, and they have grown so fast, almost on steroids.
And what steroids might those be? Barry Soetoro, puppet of the Council on Foreign Relations, which is full of the CEOs responsible for why you look on your supermarket shelves and just about everything you purchase says made in China. And by design, funding the military machine of China. And sure enough, here they are, knocking on your back door.
Well, I think as we advance our bilateral relationships with China and their Navy, we're rising to the occasion.
Next, who's his hero?
I like the Pope a lot. I've had the chance to go and meet with him with a group of people, and I like the fact that he's making the church broader, more inclusive, bringing people in, not trying to push everybody out.
That this is a rebellious people, lying children, children that will not hear the law of the Lord, which say to the seers, see not, and to the prophets, prophesy not unto us right things, speak unto us smooth things, prophesy deceits. Get you out of the way, turn aside out of the path, cause the Holy One of Israel to cease from before us. They have belied the Lord and said, it is not he, neither shall evil come upon us, neither shall we see sword nor famine, and the prophets shall become wind, and the word is not in them, thus shall it be done unto them. Wherefore, thus saith the Lord God of hosts, because ye speak this word, behold, I will make my words in thy mouth fire, and this people wood, and it shall devour them. Lo, I will bring a nation upon you from far, O house of Israel, said the Lord. It is a mighty nation, it is an ancient nation, a nation whose language thou knowest not, neither understandest what they say. Their quiver is as an open sepulchre, they are all mighty men. And they shall eat up thine harvest and thy bread, which thy sons and thy daughters should eat. They shall eat up thy flocks and thine herds. They shall eat up thy vines and thy fig trees. They shall impoverish thy fenced cities, wherein thou trustedst, with the sword. And it shall come to pass, when ye shall say, wherefore doeth the Lord our God all these things unto us? Then shalt thou answer them, like as ye have forsaken me, and served strange gods in your land, so shall ye serve strangers in a land that is not yours. Hear now this, O foolish people, and without understanding, which have eyes and see not, which have ears and hear not. Fear ye not me, saith the Lord, Will ye not tremble at my presence, which have placed the sand for the bound of the sea by a perpetual decree that it cannot pass it? And though the waves thereof toss themselves, yet can they not prevail. Though they roar, yet can they not pass over it. But this people have a revolting and a rebellious heart. They are revolted and gone. Neither say they in their heart, let us now fear the Lord our God, that giveth rain, both the former and the latter in his season. He reserveth unto us the appointed weeks of the harvest. Your iniquities have turned away these things, and your sins have withholden good things from you. For among my people are found wicked men. They lay wait, as he that setteth snares. They set a trap. They catch men. As a cage is full of birds, so are their houses full of deceit. Therefore they are become great and waxen rich. They are waxen fat. They shine. Yea, they overpass the deeds of the wicked. They judge not the cause of the fatherless. Yet they prosper, and the right of the needy do they not judge. Shall I not visit for these things, saith the Lord? Shall not my soul be avenged on such a nation as this? On such a nation as this? A wonderful and horrible thing is committed in the land. The prophets prophesy falsely, and the priests bear rule by their means. And my people love to have it so. And what will ye do in the end thereof?
And you must continue to integrate the department, what I've referred to as DHS 3.0, and lead it into its next stage of development and operations. And that when disaster strikes, people who have lost everything are given food and shelter and hope.